All right, so welcome back to podcast number 4. Where we're just going to kind of sit down and have a conversation, the conversation that most couples and people don't want to have. It's typically a problem in the relationship, probably one of the biggest fights and problems in marriages today, and that's, well, finances. It's a hot topic, something that you and I are passionate about, having went through some of the things that we have in our lives and then experiencing some of the things that we're experiencing now. And I think it's really worth sharing because a lot of people deal with this. It's involved in everybody's life at some point in the day, and I do think we have some good stuff to share. So I'm probably going to do my typical ramble on for a few minutes for those of you that are watching or listening to us, but I promise I'm going to tie all this together with a story. We just had something happen to us this week. It was, we'll just call it a financial burden, something unexpected, and it brought up a conversation that you and I had sitting outside the other night, and I was like, this is something worth sharing because unexpected financial situations, well, guess what? That happens to everybody all the time, and we hate them. And it can affect you in different ways. And even though we're having to deal with something that was unexpected and hurts, we can deal with it. We can move on, and we have a new outlook and attitude on things like that we once could not have. And it's such a freeing feeling that most people do not get to experience. And I'm hoping this podcast right here will reach out and touch somebody and kind of motivate them to experience what you and I are currently feeling.
Yeah, hopefully we can.
Yep. So quick little backstory. We won't dive into it too much. So if somebody new's listening, they understand where we're coming from. You and I got married quite a long time ago, and we went through some financial hardships. The last housing boom and economy crash that happened back in 08, 09. We had to close our business. We totaled a lot of debt. We did not file for bankruptcy, something that was very important to us. We paid off a lot, and we've struggled for quite a few years, like literally felt guilty to go out to dinner. We didn't spoil ourselves. Yeah. We didn't do nothing.
I was working 3 jobs. You were working 2 jobs.
That's right. So that was an awesome life lesson and teacher. And I want to encourage people that are going through financial hardships sometimes. Most people play the poor, pitiful me card or why me or get upset or angry about it. If you'll take from that situation and let it be a life lesson, a good teaching moment. I always tell everybody that was my college. That was my business degree going through those hard times. If you can take something out of that and carry it with you the rest of your life, golly, man, it just turned out so much better for you instead of constantly just playing the why me card. And I understand certain things do happen to people that they never asked for, didn't create. But if we're all honest with each other and sit down and look at your current situation, where you're at, and if you're, again, honest with yourself, you'll see that a lot of times it's bad decision making on your part, and it's what got you there. And we made some very bad decisions back in the day. We played the typical card that most Americans do, which is
gotta have the car payments. Mm-hmm. Gotta have, the newest cell phones.
That's
and
right.
Go on all the luxurious vacations every year and try to find out, how to live like.
I hear it all the time. I'm going to have a car payment the rest of my life. Well, I'm going to have a mortgage the rest of my life. I want to tell people right now, please listen to this. Corporate America does not care about you at all. Actually, what they want is for you to be brainwashed and to believe that, because that's what makes them money. And I'm going to title this probably delayed gratification, because we now live in a world where the credit card is too easy. We live in the microwave world, as I call it, even though it's been around for a long time. It's I want to push the button and I want it now. Yeah. And nobody doesn't understand anymore the awesome feeling of delayed gratification. And we're talking about it in the financial sense today, but delayed gratification in relationships or that promotion or, just all kinds of things in your life. When we all know that feeling. When you work hard for something and you finally get it, man, it's such a good feeling versus if something was just handed to you. Right. If we're all honest with ourselves, you got to go out and work for it. But people, again, listen, corporate America, they want you in debt. They do not care about you being financially free, and they don't want you to ever experience that feeling. We're not there yet, but we're getting very close. We're starting to get such a good taste of it. It's something I really want to share with people. It's
almost like they set it up for you to be that way. Like, the cell phones, they only last, 2 2 or 3 years, and now they're like
Then all of a sudden-
$1,500 cell
all of a sudden
phones.
you can't update it no more,
Yeah,
right?
they expect you to always be tied to them, in some way with a contract, or hey, it's just normal that every 3 years you're going to get a $1,500 cell phone or a new vehicle every 4 years. That's just
It's
how
a
it's supposed
throwaway
to be.
world that we live in now. Things are actually built, designed, and manipulated for you and I to feel that way. And then where corporate greed and corporate America works, again, they don't want you to climb out of that hole, that financial hole you fell in. They don't care if you're constantly at home fighting with your spouse and money's a big hot topic and it's just causing a ripple effect through your family. Actually, they like that too, because guess what? There's plenty of other industries out there that'll make money off of that. I mean, all kinds of industries want you in a struggle because they'll find a way to make money off of that situation. So I want people to really listen to this, because you and I are finally reaching a point, even though we're not there yet, but we can taste it in our life, to where things like what just happened to us, the short story I'm about to share, it's nothing exciting, but it's just a good story to share. It ultimately leads to a feeling. We're finally reaching a point to where we can shrug those things off. And I don't think people understand the impact of being able to shrug off something that's so important and so involved in the daily life. And I don't think people understand I always use this, being a slave to the lender, that you hear me say so often. You don't understand it until you're no longer a slave to the lender and you truly understand that old school saying that's been around forever. People get so trapped in this debt world. They get so accustomed to it's just the way it's just going to be, that they don't understand. They've never tasted the other way that it could be. And once you get a taste of that, you'll never go back. I'm never going back to the fights, the arguments, the laying awake at night, the worry, everything else. So let me share this story real quick, and I think it'll make a little more sense what we're talking about here and how it ties into relationships, or maybe if you're single, just, your financial life. So again, nothing exciting. Just went and did our taxes this week. And, typically we expect with us having a business and the way we can move things around and depreciate and write stuff off, we kind of just hope for, let's break even. Either we might get a little bit back or we might not pay much in. That's the way it's always worked out for us. Thank goodness for tax write-offs and things that we have there. Well, at the end of doing our taxes just a couple of days ago, I was informed by our CPA that we owed almost $7,000 to the IRS. Turns out we own this. We're going to own this 100%. We made a mistake when we was filling out your W-4s last year.
Yeah.
I don't know if
and
a lot
I have
of people,
several of them. So
yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with these new W-4s, but they have that worksheet. So if you're working multiple jobs like you are, and I'm working, it wants you to fill out this crazy worksheet, do all these calculations, and deduct this amount, and add it to this line, and take it away.
I don't understand why they just can't make it simple, like this or this.
It used to be simple. It was fill in this bubble. Are you married? What rate are you filing at? And go on about your business. Right. Well, apparently we made a mistake, and we also live in this world now. Again, our fault, to where you don't get paper. Pay stubs and nothing anymore. Yeah. We did not check the pay stubs throughout last year to see what was being withheld. We would have noticed that practically no federal withholding taxes was going on. We were still getting everything else taken off. And it's because obviously we filled the worksheet out wrong, but we've talked with our CPA and corrected that. So at the end of this tax appointment where I'm expecting, hey, you might get $300 back or something like we did last year, or you might owe $300. Okay, fine. We can handle that either direction. It is what it is. I'm being told, oh, surprise, $7,000 surprise. Oh, wow. Fortunately, with us having a business and some long-term depreciations, we were able to accelerate some things. So we won't get into legal jargon or CPA jargon right here. And we were able to knock it down a little, but we're still on the hook for thousands of dollars. So you and I are sitting outside the other night. We're like, man, we got to get this figured out. We got to get these W-4s figured out. We don't want to go through this again this year. So what really caught me off guard was how nonchalant our conversation was the other night. I just got back from doing the taxes, and, we're out there having a conversation of, surprise, we've got to come up with several $1,000s. But here's where it felt so good and where it really hit me. If we'd had this conversation many years ago, a decade and a half ago, when we were struggling like a lot of people are right now, playing that debt game, paycheck to paycheck, this would have crushed us. We had a conversation of, this sucks. All right, we've got it. We're going to write the check. It was never our money to begin with. We're supposed to have been paying those taxes, and we're just going to deal with it.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, right? Yeah. That feeling right there most people never get to experience. That is that not being a slave to the lender. That's having that little bit of money in the bank. You and I found Dave Ramsey a long time ago and started following some of his teachings. And it took us a long time to apply some of what he taught. We didn't follow him to the T.
Right.
But to get to this situation where we're at now, it's taken us, 15 plus years probably?
Oh, yeah.
So,
easily.
That delayed gratification, that's exactly what you and I experienced the other night. Can you think for the average couple that's just indebted like crazy, nothing in the bank hardly, paycheck to paycheck, like so many people are living. And I'm not making fun of nobody, y'all. We've been there. If you were told, I've got thousands of dollars owed that you've got to pay, and you better pay the IRS, they're going to get it one way or another. That would cause not only an argument instantly, probably in the household there, you would have went to bed not sleeping, thinking about it, tossing and turning all night. We've all been there. You'd have woke up the next day, guess what? Still on your mind. Probably would have had another argument with your spouse on it again. The kids would have seen it. Everything that comes along with that type of stuff. We've all been there. We've all experienced it. When you can finally make that decision to dig yourself out of that financial hole, to get away from that corporate greed, to quit being a slave to that lender, that is exactly what it means. The feeling that you and I felt the other night of, well, it is what it is. Okay, we're going to pay it. We're going to go on about our life and our business. We went to sleep that night. I don't even think it was on my mind.
No, I didn't know. I haven't even thought about it again, actually.
Yeah, okay, I've done accepted it. And I want people to understand we're not rich, okay?
No.
We've just got a little more than that in the bank. We've prepared ourselves for rainy days and unexpected things like this has happened. I've always used the analogy of back in the day, the only thing I didn't agree with Dave Ramsey's teaching back then, he felt like you should have about $1,000 in the bank and pay off. Everything else should be going toward paying off your debts. And I get the point he was trying to get, but I always agreed in having more than that in the bank. And my analogy I always used was, if the AC goes out in the house, there's several $1,000s. We live in Florida, trust me, we're going to get that fixed. It's a necessity.
Right.
I don't want to be laid there in a hotbed at night going, how are we going to pay for this? Or putting it on a credit card. Or if the transmission goes out in your vehicle, I want to know that we can get it right back running and then you can get back to work, or whatever it may be. That's the stuff I used to constantly think about, and I wanted enough in the bank for that. Life is going to throw you curveballs. There's going to be unexpected events just like this. But I encourage people to get yourself to a point, and you're not going to get there tomorrow.
Well, it's just ultimately a decision. You either decide that, hey, you want to do a different pattern and take a different route and, not be a slave to the lender, and that you don't have to always have car payments. You don't always have to have credit card debt. You just make that decision. If you don't want to make it, then that's fine. You can just, continue that trend, and then hopefully you may get ahead eventually. But then if you do make the choice like we have, just knowing the comfort in having everything paid off, and that if something was to happen to me or you with our jobs, that we would be okay and we would still be able to make it. It's an awesome feeling. It's kind of hard to wrap my head around it because we've always been, in that hustle mode and working multiple jobs, and to know that, hey, I don't have to, keep working as hard as I'm working if I didn't want to, or if I couldn't,
Yeah, and that in and of itself is another amazing feeling that a lot of people don't grasp. I got to reach out and I got to step out and follow a dream years ago with the social media, and thank goodness it's slowly been working out. But we took a huge financial risk, but we had set ourselves up to where we could take risks like that. I hear that from people all the time. My dream job would come available, but it doesn't pay as much as I make right now.
Right.
Well, that's because you've put yourself in a financial bind to where you're actually got more going out than you have coming in right now. Again, it's that being a slave, being trapped. You can't think, you can't make decisions and choices like you were just talking about. If people can get themselves to where they're living on less than they make, building a little bit of a nest egg, putting something in checkings and savings, the wonderful, amazing, free feeling of if the boss comes in tomorrow and says the company just sold and we're closing down this division, or the transmission blows up in the car tomorrow, or whatever it may be. People don't understand the comfort in that feeling of, man, this sucks, but it's okay. It's going to be okay. We got this. Not having to instantly go into a pure panic mode, stressed out, wasting your life away, so stressed, thinking on what are we going to do? How are we going to make this happen?
And that's not a good feeling. We've been there.
We have.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have that feeling every single day of the week, and they're trapped.
And because we had that feeling, that made us turn to this, way.
That's what it
And
often...
I mean, it just really changed our mind about things. It really did.
often takes a slap in the face in the life like it did us of, man, we fell on some hard times. But I hope someone listening to this right here gets encouraged to not have to fall on a hard time. Make the decision before the hard time comes that you want to start putting away a little more, living on a little less, maybe not buying the latest and greatest $2,000 cell phone. There's things you can do. Maybe once you finally do pay off your vehicle, just for a little while, drive around a free paid for vehicle and watch your bank account grow and see how awesome it feels to not have a car payment. Then start using that money toward paying your house off. You're not going to get
It happens faster than you think. I mean, it really does. When we started paying little by little stuff off, it's just like, it's
every snowball.
Yeah, every year it was like something major was getting paid off.
That's what Dave Ramsey tries to teach. If you'll start, a lot of times with your higher interest stuff, but if you take that payment and pay that off, now here comes the little snowball. Take that money and put it towards something else. Here, the snowball got a little bigger, towards something else, towards something else. Before you realize it, you're paid off. Yep. You may have a little older cell phone, a little older car. Who cares? Now you're putting thousands extra towards your mortgage. And
every time you get a raise at your job, if you're already living off that income and surviving off that income, every time you get a raise, like just pretend like you didn't even get it and just put that towards.
Put it in retirement or put it towards paying off debt.
That's kind of like how we did things too.
That is exactly how we did things. And when I used to work at the mill, we would pretty consecutively get raises thanks to a union there. And say if I got I'm just going to say a 4% raise. Well, I would put sometimes all 4% straight into my retirement, because guess what? I would get a company match on top of it, and that income was going in not getting taxed. That money was going in not getting taxed as income. So it's going to grow and compound. There's so many smart decisions that you can make, but I want to encourage people to quit laying awake at night being stressed. Quit having fights with your spouse because the money isn't there and you're worried. Life is way too short, y'all, for that to be what you're fighting and worrying about every single day of the week.
You're probably relieved too, because, every time we had conversations about budget, it was like, okay, we need to sit down and talk about our budget. I would dread that conversation, and it would be very stressful. Because it was usually, something that I felt like I couldn't change. We're both working so hard, but yet it was, it was a very serious conversation to keep having. That way we stayed on track. And even though you want it to be better and you want it to change and you're working so hard and you want to see that gratification, it's just
instant gratification. But
it's just not.
If you'll delay that gratification, it is so sweet when you finally get there. We don't have to have those conversations anymore. And I'm so glad you mentioned budget. People, oh my goodness, people.
Yeah.
I am so shocked at how many people do not have a budget. They have no idea where their money's going. That is one of your biggest reasons why you're having financial problems. If you'll sit down and realize that, holy smokes, I've got $300 a month going out to Starbucks, or I've got
we see some people that
or $375 going out to the cell phone bill, and they didn't realize they could get on something like Visible, and it's $25 a line.
Yeah.
How many people have we helped with that?
Oh yeah, I'm steady trying to tell people about those things. Just alone in our insurance company, our car insurance company, how they'll find us the best deals, and you just always got to shop around to save with everything that you're paying, even the major bills. We wouldn't have thought that, how much money we could save with just auto, but just shopping around for that or shopping around for other things.
And our house, we just saved thousands.
We did.
From our first quote to our second quote, I kid y'all not, on our house last year, it was about $6,000 difference.
And this was our homeowner's insurance.
That's correct.
Yes.
And a lot of people just pay those things. It just automatically
I
deducts
gotta
out.
do it. Yep.
Yeah, I got to do it. I got to have car insurance. Yeah, you do. But why don't you shop around? There's money to save there. The people that's spending $200-something a month on satellite bill when you could be streaming a few $10 or $7 a month, over the net things right there. And
we even cut out our satellite TV and just got Hulu and Netflix and paid under $20 a month for TV, because it was just, those were the sacrifices we had to make to get to where we are. And looking ahead at where we wanted to be, that was, so much more important than having that $200 satellite, bill.
Yep. So that we could have an entire conversation about money saving tips and things like that. We may get into that one day, but I highly encourage y'all to go read some of Dave Ramsey's stuff because it's a lot of what we're discussing right here. Get a budget, figure out how much you got coming in and where it's going out. I mean, if you're swiping a debit or a credit card like most people are, pull those monthly statements. Right there is your budget. Just start breaking down the food, gas, groceries, extra expenditures, cell phone, all that's most likely on those forms that are already ready to go for you. Make you a budget. And it won't take you long to realize, ooh, we have this much coming in and this much is going out.
Well, I think what helped us too was we did the whole envelope thing.
Yes, we did.
In the beginning.
Yeah, we did.
I even had like a little accordion envelope thing, and you put the money in the different categories, the groceries, we even put some back for vacation or play money.
And you've got to do that. You've got to give yourself a little
play money. And that
really
really helped us kind of get started with that, because when people they start looking at all their statements, they get frustrated, and, it does add up to more than what you're actually making. So doing the envelope thing really, really kind of helped.
And we won't go into much of that either, because that's Dave Ramsey's stuff as well.
Yeah.
But I've totally forgot about it. Thanks for bringing that up. But we literally made an envelope accordion folder of, hey, we've budgeted this much for groceries. Mm-hmm. Understand things are going to change. You put money in that. You'll have a miscellaneous one or a surprise fund that you put money in every month. And if you don't use it, roll it to next month, because I guarantee you a surprise is coming. And it ain't going to be a good surprise, if you know what I mean. So, there's so much we could talk about there. But I really wanted this to be about a word of encouragement, because I'm so thankful and blessed that you and I are finally at a point in our life, and I want to see so many people get here to where a several $1,000 unexpected oops this week that we were not planning for did not cause us to fight, argue, did not cause us to cancel any upcoming thing that we have.
Right.
All it's going to do is just be a tough reminder, make us get things in order, but it's also a great reminder of the way things used to be. And I'm so thankful and blessed that we don't feel the stress that we once did when something like that would happen. And I highly encourage people, please find a way to get to that point in your life. So few people will ever experience the feeling that you and I are feeling. They'll literally take this to their grave, take
some
debt
people
and
don't
everything
even
else.
realize that people have that feeling, other than, like celebrities or rich people, they don't think
look at how
that.
many of them go bankrupt and don't have a
True,
clue
but they
either.
don't think about the average me and you that's out here, doing okay.
Yeah.
With it.
So, again, we're not wealthy people. We're still having to work. We still got to do our budget, but we're making good decisions. We don't have the new car payments, and we finally were able to save up after years and years and pay for a house. And guess what? Us not having that mortgage and not driving the newest, latest, and greatest car and cell phones and all, it allows us to have extra play money, whether that be money that we put more toward long-term and retirement, or just build a bank account, or do a house addition whenever we want to. And we're not going to go out there and finance that at some crazy interest rate that's going on and rack up a credit card and all this other stuff. When you can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel and dig yourself out of that hole, and then you finally get a small taste of what financial freedom feels like, oh my goodness, I'm telling y'all, it will become an addiction. It'll absolutely become an addiction, and you'll never want to go back. So I guess let's wrap it up here. We've rambled on long enough, but I really wanted to share that story and where we came from and to where we are now. And I just wanted to kind of be a word of encouragement to some other people. We don't have it all figured out. We're not perfect. So I hope y'all understand that's not what we're preaching here. We still have some debts. We're not retired. We're not wealthy, but
we're working towards being debt free, though.
We are working
still our
so
strive.
hard on it, and we're making tough decisions and we're watching other people do things that we wish we could do, and really we could. We know that there's a different end goal for us, and you and I have got a taste of what some financial freedom feels like, and we want a bigger taste. We want the true,
Absolutely.
We want the whole pie. We got our slice right now. Yeah. And we got the itch, we got the addiction for financial freedom.
It's like instead of dreaming of a new vehicle, we're dreaming of being debt free. And that's just like a big dream.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And we're getting closer, very closer.
All right, well, we could go on and on and on about this. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the episode. We hope it's a word of encouragement. For some of y'all that are already feeling what we're feeling, it's a great feeling, isn't it? I know we're going to get some comments back on this. And for those of y'all that are kind of feeling helpless and hopeless and just can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, we've been there. We've absolutely been there, to the point that, again, even going out to dinner for one night of the week was not an option.
Yeah, it's taken us 15 years to get to this point.
It has,
so it does take time.
It is so sweet, that delayed gratification. We have worked for it. We've earned it. And now we've got it. And the gratification is here right at our fingertips. We're still working on it, but we're starting to really see some, results for our actions. And, man, it's such a good feeling. So I would love to see some of y'all experience that as well. We'll talk more about this in the future if we get some feedback and y'all want to hear about it. And thank y'all so much for watching and or listening. We'll catch you on the next podcast.